Hello one and all, welcome back to ArcheAge Inspiration. My name is Cilantro. Today's rolls are 3, 6, and 9. So that will be Occultism, which we already have, Witchcraft, and Shadow Play, which makes us into a Shroudmaster. Shroudmaster. Alright, for the Shroudmaster, I'm going for something pretty straightforward here. I went back and forth a lot, trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do, and sometimes tried and true is what you need to do. So Witchcraft and Shadow Play packages are pretty standard. I feel like I don't really need to go over these. I've been over them a million times. The only deviations here are some interesting choices between the Witchcraft and Shadowplay passives, namely Loophole and Mitigation. These two passives give you a 30% damage reduction for 3 seconds after a melee critical hit if you have Mitigation, and a range damage reduction if you take a range critical hit with Loophole. These two in tandem will allow you to be a little bit more tanky against any physical attacks that you get, which probably will allow you to more safely wear Cloth. That gives you the option to be more of a spellcaster. You could always, of course, wear leather if you wish and focus more on shadow play using Witchcraft for CC. The choice is yours. Occultism's kind of the odd man out here. I went ahead and chose 3 passives, or 3 abilities rather, that I think complement this build's playstyle. Hellspear is awesome, one of the best abilities in the game as far as I'm concerned. Point blank, AoE, instant cast, stun with a pretty darn good duration. Can't really say anything else about it. Mana Star's very light on damage, but very good for chasing. So if somebody's trying to get away from you, you can use your free runner, use Shadow Step, whatever you can, and keep Mana Stars applied to them. Especially in a group situation, if other people are doing damage, Mana Stars will keep them from really getting away, because once it's stacked up to 20 stacks, it's a minus 40% move speed debuff. Very hard to get away. Last but not least is an underrated ability called Telekinesis. Now out in the water, this ability has some really good uses. For example, pulling drivers off their boat, pulling anybody off their boat, really. Very powerful. But even on land, it's got some uses. The way I envision the Shroudmaster being played is as a very active crowd control type class. It's pretty amazing how you can have the same abilities in 2 different specs, but sort of approach the gameplay in 2 different ways. For example, the Shadow Play Witchcraft package comes to a lot of different other classes. I mean, just as an example, Dagger Spell has Shadow Play and Witchcraft, and I know that usually they don't take quite as much in the Shadow Play tree on the Dagger Spell, but they do have the option to. And the way I think things should work out if you're playing a Shroudmaster is you really have to take advantage of stealth. It's very important that you take advantage of your mobility options, free runner, shadow step, drop back, to get close, get into position with stealth. And then you can open up with either Hellspear or Banshee Whale, ideally hitting 2 or 3 or as many people as you can, and then follow up with some other extraneous crowd control elements. One of the biggest examples I can give you would be to do Banshee Whale, and then while they're running around, bubble trap somebody, get them out of the fight. Also try to get a lassitude off, and then when Banshee Whale's about done, you can follow it up with Hellspear. So you have 2 people out of the fight, assuming that you Hellspear before lassitude completely goes off. 2 people out of the fight for 8 seconds, assuming they can't break lassitude or bubble trap. Everybody else has been initiated on for a good, 5 or 6 seconds of hard CC if they don't have immunity to it. And you can use something like Telekinesis to help clean up the rest. If it's like a 3v3 situation, you have 2 of your buddies running around on free dick and you see 3 people. If you can sneak up on them, you can take 2 of them out of the fight for 8 seconds and Telekinesis the other one so your buddies can kill them. Lots of options. And that's really what this build is about, options. You have the ability to wear leather, wear cloth. I think both could be viable. If you want to focus more on your physical damage, you could always switch over to Rapid Strike. But I would highly recommend using a weapon that is both good, if I could open the right thing, that is both good for physical DPS and magic damage, because your damage will be significant. Things like Dehuda's Breath, Focal Concussion, Enervate and Mud Hand, also known as Earthen Grip, do a pretty darn decent amount of damage, and ignoring that would be foolish. Unfortunately, the Obsidian weapons, as I've mentioned in so many videos recently, are not out yet, so you'll have to wait for those. But when they do come out, I would recommend getting an Obsidian Nodachi, which is the 2-handed sword. It'll have good, actual, viable physical DPS in addition to a solid magic attack. So that's what I have to say about the Shroudmaster. I tried to get some PvP footage earlier, but being a pirate kind of limits where you can go safely, and I didn't really feel like risking a 40-minute jail sentence. Sorry. But I think this sort of plays itself. It's pretty straightforward. Get in there, Banshee Whale and or Hellspear, crowd control some people, use telekinesis, and use the rest of your suite of abilities to supplement with damage and utility as needed. So that's it for the Shroudmaster. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the video, and I'll see you next time.